Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Pitch Slap.
Pitch slap.
Uh, Today, we are continuing our discussion from last time where we tried to remix an iconic property um, from the early 2010s, um, and that was Twilight. So, let's hear Stefan's take on Twilight. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Well,
So,
I hope so, Dan the Man. Thank you. So if you tuned in last week, you heard all about Puppet Edward, and I really hope that becomes something that trends or someone. Maybe they already have puppets of Edward, because that'd be dope. Um, for this one, for my version, I'm thinking we're going like if Guillermo del Toro did Twilight, that's kind of who I would envision making this, or like if Stephen King did something Twilighty, that would be cool. Um, so in my version, you have a prequel scene, not a prequel scene, like a flashback, right? So it shows Carlisle and Billy Black, right? They knew each other way back when, and they were teaming up in a battle against this ancient evil creature called a Wendigo, right? And this specific Wendigo's name is Yarel. And Yarel was trying to enslave like the natives, right? And Carlisle and Billy Black realized like, look, if we don't do something to destroy this, they're going to turn on all of us, right? Like it doesn't matter. We're going to be different. We're going to be the other, and they'll never accept us for who we are. So we need to, knock this down. So they do. They team up. They trap Uriel in what they think is a catacomb prison deep in the earth, and he's gone for good. Well, needless to say, mankind is ruthless, and they don't care for anything that doesn't look like them, or act like them, or talk like them. So they, force the vampire kind and the werewolf kind to go into hiding, right, where they can't actually be themselves regularly. So then we fast forward into the future, right? Present day. Um, where are they? Like Portland, Maine, or something like that? Like a northeast town?
I think it's Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Washington State or Washington, Maine?
I think it's Washington State.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So they're not even in the northeast. They're in the northwest. All right, so that scene where they fight Yrel, right? They were in like think like the colonies, 13 colonies. I'm saying probably up in the Maine area, right? Like a lot of woods, settlements, natives and colonists as well. So that's okay. So then they're now on the west coast in Washington State, like Dan said, and both of these gentlemen have settled their families there. So that's okay. Now, what's happening is while they've settled their families, blended in with society, this Wendigo Yrel has grown a specific cult. Now, this cult of people, are looking for him. Some are vampires, some are disenchanted human beings, right? Individuals who feel like mankind has wronged them. So they free Yrel, and then Yrel is like, we must kill Carlisle and Billy Black, right? And you see him have one of those villain monologues, and he's like, find them and bring them to, or report to me, bring them to me, right? And then our crusade against humanity will begin, something like that. So that's fine. So then it goes back to like Washington State, and um, we find Chief Swan doing his thing, right? He's become friends with both of these gentlemen, unbeknownst to him what they are, right? Carlisle is the town like doctor, right? So he's also the mortician. So if there are any crimes, he would be the guy who has to figure that out. While Billy Black is also like part of the reservation police at this point, right? He's like the chief, but he's also reservation cop. So him and Swan have teamed up to solve some misdemeanors that happen on the res because, res police are the only ones who have jurisdiction. But if they leave the res, they need help of the town, right, or the city that it's near. So that's fine. So they all know each other. Now, Chief Swan has been divorced, right? He hasn't seen his daughter, things aren't going well with her and her mom. So she says, I'm moving out to see Dad, and he's antsy about this because he hasn't seen her since she was roughly 7, right when he walked out on her and his wife for whatever reason, and we'll find that out as the story goes. So no spoilers here, just something to titillate you while you listen. So that's fine. So that's going on. So she comes there. She's in high school. She falls. She notices 2 dudes. One happens to be Edward Cullen, Carlisle's boy. The other one happens to be Jacob Black, Billy Black's boy, right? And they're in this like love triangle. So as she's figuring this out and getting accustomed to her surroundings, one of these like apostles or emissaries of Uriel comes to town, right? And he sees Carlisle, right? Like, and his son, and then he follows the son, right? Because he thinks, okay, to get to Carlisle, I'm gonna get the boy. So that's fine. So but Edward is hanging out. Edward's hanging out with Bella. Now in this scuffle, Bella dies. Right? She's pronounced dead. The emissary, loses a limb or something and gets away. Reports back to Uriel. Now, meanwhile, obviously this brings travesty to Chief Swan. Right? Carlisle has to pronounce her dead. He sees how upset his friend is, and he decides to bite her and make her a vampire. Bring her back. Right? So that's okay. Well, while she's recovering at the Cullen home, right, and getting used to this vampire business, Chief Swan is on the warpath, right? He's drinking, he's getting sloppy, right? He's doing dumb stuff, and Billy Black is trying to be there for him, right? And help him get him on his feet, like it's going to be okay. And then Billy goes to see Carlisle to say, what are we going to do about Swan? And then he sees Bella, and he's like, what have you done? And he's like, what was I going to do? I was going to let my friend die, my friend's daughter die, and I've given her another shot at life. And he's like, he won't ever accept this, right? Like, he doesn't know about us. And then that's when Chief Swan comes over, and he sees and figures it out. And then they both give him the lowdown about this dude who attacked Edward, their whole backstory, and it shows in a montage, well, Carlisle and Black are telling Swan about their past and about Belle. It shows Uriel and his people coming to Washington, right, preparing for this fight. And then it shifts to this trio of heroes preparing their own, right? You got the werewolves and the vampires and Belle and the dad with a shotgun, and he's just like, nothing makes sense anymore. But I love you. And then they fight Uriel, and then ultimately Uriel dies. But I feel like, yeah, that's the ending. Uriel dies, and that Wendigo thing is dead, and then possibly, his disciples are also dead, but, like, one of them is part of, like, that vampire high order, right? And he's now seen that, they turned a human. And since I don't know if they have hive minds, but I'm going to say, like, if you're part of that high order, right, the others in that order see what you see, and they see that a human is now a vampire, and so that's why it trickles like, oh, that's not cool. We're coming to wipe them out because they're going to get us caught, right? They're going to expose us to the world. So that sets up, like, the sequels, like part 2 and 3. And that's it. That's my Twilight pitch, how I would have done it if they were like, we want you to sprinkle some magic on this, or give us a different spin on it.
So you kind of like wiped the floor. Oh man, that was really cool. And like, I really liked how you started the story too, with like sort of this backstory, Billy and Mr. Cullen, what's his name, Carlisle, like fighting the Wendigo, and like having that as like a central antagonist throughout. Yeah, I really liked it, and I I'm trying to like how did you come up with this remix? Because not like they set up like vampires and werewolves in the Twilight universe, but like you quite literally like remixed everything. You kept the characters the same, but you've like remixed everything, and I think it's so cool. Where did this idea come from?
Well, thanks, homie. But I was thinking a lot about Underworld, right? Like you got the two warring clans, and in a lot of ways, Twilight and Underworld are similar. Instead of a female love interest, there's a male one, Michael, right? And he's supposed to be like the bridge between both of them, right? Half werewolf, half vampire. So just I thought about like that, and then like I don't know. I was trying to think. Originally I was like, oh, a Draugr, but then like that didn't seem right because that's like a zombie dwarf looking thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
Wendigo, they talk about it in like Pet Cemetery, like loosely, like very loosely, at least in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in other stuff I've seen them, and they're terrifying. And like natives have sorry, indigenous people to this area, not this area, but like in tribal like lore, that you hear about Wendigos, being there. So if that's true, they've encountered all these type of things. So it's something that they may or may not have seen. So, and I'm guessing like, historically people don't like different things. So if one different thing is being bad, then everything that's different suffers from that. But yeah, Underworld, and then just like what would I want to see happen? Because I like Billy Burke's character. Realistically, I think Billy Black is good. I also think Carlisle is good. I just think they needed to, in the right light, it could have been more than what it was. Not that it was bad, but like it doesn't stand the test of time. You have to be a certain age, I think, to really be like, yas.
Yeah, and you give them a lot to do too. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of like their story, and I like that you've sort of like shifted it to like sort of like an adult, thing. But like Bella and the love triangle is sort of like the thing that like sparks them all coming together, I guess, in some way, like reconnecting in some way. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, thanks, Dan the Man.
Yeah.
So,
And I like that hive mind idea too. I know you like kind of threw it in at the end, but like that's such a cool idea for like a vampire villain. I don't think we've seen like a hive mind vampire before, or at least I haven't. You know, so
no, I haven't seen that either. But like, I feel like if you're in like that upper echelon, right, you want to see what everyone who is part of that is doing, or it's their way of keeping tabs, right? Like, oh, this is how everyone is honest if you're gonna be up here, right? Because it's a privilege type thing.
yeah. And I like that like thread. Like it seems like you had sort of like a theme throughout where it was like you started off strong, where you said basically they have to go back into hiding, because humanity is not gonna, is not gonna accept them, and then they have to like reconcile with like Chief Swan, is gonna find out about them, and I can just picture like that. I don't know, like that has some emotional weight to it, and then at the end, like this like vampire high order is stepping in to like prevent people from finding out about like the vampire existence or vampire universe. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was really cool. You thought it through like thematically.
Well, thanks, homie. No, I appreciate it. And hopefully they make this movie. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be Twilight, but like it'd be cool to see this, like done in some kind of way. Like that'd be cool.
You should do it.
One day, perhaps, perhaps.
Just change all of the names, like Charlisle.
Charlisle. Instead of Edward, it'll be Rodrigo.
Yes.
Rodrigo and Emma and Paul.
Yeah.
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 Well, that'll do it. So, but yeah, so that is my Twilight remix. I appreciate you guys listening. Dan the Man, I appreciate your thoughts and your kind words. Guys, if you enjoy this, I hope you do it because I think both Dan, if I can speak for both of us, I think we enjoy it as well. So be on the lookout. We'll definitely keep some remixes in our rotation. aside from our own original ideas. If that sounds cool. Does that sound cool? I did an
Yes.
awful lot of talking for both
No,
of us.
Well, sounds good.
Okay.
Gucci.
Oh, what could be fun, right, is if you guys have any suggestions for us of things you'd like to see a new spin on, in the comments, be like, hey, I'd like to see like a remix of Jurassic Park. That'd be hard. Or like Ghost Rider or something. I don't know. But it'd be cool to have suggestions.
They all need more puppets.
Yes, they all need more puppets and infinitely more Nicolas Cage. That's the only way.
Now I want to see Nicolas Cage in a movie with puppets. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's for another day.
Okay. All right, we're going to come back to that because that seems like it could be something.
For sure.
Yeah.
A fever dream movie.
Puppageddon with Nicolas Cage.
Yes. Blowing up a bunch of puppets.
Yes. Like once the puppet's on your hand, they take over your body.
And
then
oh man!
He has to like shoot the puppet off the hand.
I like that.
Puppageddon. We could make that. That's actually very doable.
That sounds very achievable. Yes.
The Puppet Master. Okay, yeah, we're gonna be on the lookout for that. That's informational property. Don't you go making that without us. All right. On that note, we will leave you with that imagination. This has been another episode of 3, 2, 1, Pitch Slap, and we will see you guys next week.
Stay gold.